Hey everyone, it's Maribel Blue. I recorded a video in the topic that I am going to be discussing, and I actually recorded another day. I recorded one tonight. However, the audio on most parts of the video are completely choppy. And in lieu of doing it over again, I'm going to use the original video. It's a little out of sorts. I wanted to talk about the specific topics. Maybe there's a way that I could just move clips to another. But needless to say, I just wanted to start off this video and say Happy New Year to everyone. I hope that you have a prosperous 2023. I did talk in the other video that came out all chopped up about my jars that are going to be coming out, the trifecta box, and I'm going to put a video that I recorded. It's going to be in the edited version. So I do hope that you invest in these wonderful gifts here at Servebox. And that's basically it. So Happy New Year to everyone. Enjoy, and please enjoy the video about workplaces. Are they becoming the new cult culture? See you then. Bye. Hey everyone, it's Maribel Blue. Welcome to my life coaching channel. This is actually take two because I almost said unfiltered when I realized that I am not recording an unfiltered episode. This is my life coaching channel. Welcome to everyone. If you are new, please take the time to subscribe. And if you are not new, welcome back. I am doing a lot of different things with this channel, so everything will be listed on a playlist. You will find a meditation playlist. I'm going to be doing some singing bowl stuff. And of course, I will be doing all of these different videos on life coaching, tarot reading. So there's going to be a playlist for everything. If you're interested in something in particular, you can just go to that playlist. Everything will be there for you. Everything here is a little different. I'm using a camera that's in front of me, so I don't necessarily see my laptop, which is right here on the side of me. And like the lighting is working, and hopefully the microphone is working perfectly. So it's definitely different. I don't feel as constricted with having my laptop and tripping over things. So I hope this will be a much better experience for you as it is for me right now. So with all that being said, today's topic will be on more of a business related topic. This is something that I've been wanting to do for years. I've been talking about it for a long time. I've had personal experiences with it, and I've been watching other channels related to these cult like either mentalities or religions. And I'm not going to get into specific because it's not a topic that I really want to discuss as far as like religion is concerned. But I will tell you, and I need to give a shout out to, give me 1 second while I pull up my phone. I always forget to pull this stuff up, but I promised that I would give her a shout out. She's on TikTok. We follow each other, and it is, and I'm going to put everything down below, at a girl in a plant world. She talks all of these different conspiracy theories, and she does incorporate like all of these cult people that took religion to like another ascension. There are some people that needed help, but you know, in this day and age, I'm surprised that people still buy into nonsense and not really allow themselves to think freely. Now, I'm going to say this, like before I get into my card and talk about like these different types of coaching, because it's going to be more of this cult mentality. It's going to talk about like different methods of coaching and what people have had experiences with it, whether it has really helped them or they needed something way beyond just a person like myself who is guiding a person through their path, because that's all really a life coach should be doing. We're not therapists, we're not psychologists, we're not psychiatrists. So if anyone tells you they're a life coach and they can give you a form of therapy like a therapist would do and they don't have a license, that is a big no. Please, 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 I can't stress enough. It is important that you see a licensed therapist if you feel that there are things beyond a life coach can help you with. So I want to get back to this cult mentality. When I was a little girl, my mother would always turn on the TV, and it would be like on the weekends. I guess she was cleaning or whatever. I really can't remember. But they would have all of these different programming, if you will, that was like really bizarre, at least to me as a child. Of course, as an adult, I understand, but when I was a child, I really didn't understand. It was supposed to be like, it was like movies, and it was supposed to be educational, like things that you shouldn't be doing when you grow up. But, at the same time, as a child watching it, like I really couldn't understand what was going on. I remember there was a movie that she had put on, and I can't remember like the beginnings of it, but there was one part that really got me that just never ever left me. And it was about people that got caught up in cults and started following like one person. Like that one person became their god, and that one person was telling them how to think, how to live, how they should do certain things, or what they should eat. It was just completely crazy. And as this man went on and he joined this cult, he had to like shave his head. It was just like crazy. It wasn't even like anything Buddhist, if that's where your mind went. It wasn't like that at all. It was more of like this person was their savior. I don't know if at some point he got wind, like things that weren't right or didn't sit right with him, and he made an escape. And this is the part that I remember. He had escaped and he went to like this dismal diner and he ordered a hamburger because he wasn't allowed to eat meat. And that was something that he hadn't had since he joined the cult. The waitress serves him the hamburger and he starts eating it, like he starts scarfing it down, like he hasn't had like a meal in months. And in this setting of the diner, there was a mirror in front of him. It's kind of like the backdrop of the counter of the diner. And he caught himself eating the burger, and like it stopped him in his tracks. Like, what was he doing? And there lied the conflict. He was caught up in this belief system that didn't make him comfortable, hence the reason why he escaped. But then when he caught himself eating something that he was forbidden to eat as part of the cult mentality, then he had guilt inside of him because he went behind their back. I wish I knew the name of this movie. I can't remember what it is. I wouldn't even know how to look it up on YouTube. I don't know if it's like movies of like the late 70s, early 80s. Not a clue. It always stayed with me. Now, of course, growing up, having experiences in the workplace, the workforce, and how things run, how people interact with each other was a whole different experience. It's like when you're growing up, you're hanging out with the people that you know best, and you can be stupid in front of them, you can be goofy, whatever it is that you do with your friends. But when you're in the workplace, it's an entirely different culture. You have to be respectful to your coworkers. You can't carry on in conversations that you would with your friends. Now, of course, in other places, they would do that because in essence, they really don't care. And I'm going to get into that in a little while. The reason why I want to discuss this topic, because this is something that everyone is experiencing in one form or another. And I'm not saying that every workplace is like this, but when you are working and things start to change, let's say your job was one way and then all of a sudden somebody new comes along and they want to start incorporating all of these different bullshits that doesn't make a difference for your job. It doesn't make the culture better, if you know what I'm driving at. I've also had this experience, and I'm going to get into that too. So one of the first things that I wanted to talk about are some work cultures devised on like a cult mentality. And I was reading this article about the very real dangers of executive coaching. Now, I would say I would like to put the link. I would have to find it. Hopefully I will find it, but it's by Stephen Berglas, and it looks like it was written in 2002. However, it's something that's still very current and relevant in this day and age. And I think what probably started in 2002 perhaps got worse. So these were my notes that I had written in regards to this article in executive coaching. I wanted to stop the video because this was something that I had recorded earlier this evening, and I felt it was very important to include this aspect as part of the video. The article by Stephen Berglas talks about an executive who spoke disparagingly to a male person who needed a signature. And with that, the CEO suggested the person get a life coach to help him communicate with the support staff because he can't go around humiliating people. The life coach that was hired was a former corporate attorney. And instead of the life coach helping him to better communicate, he was helping him better communicate at humiliating the support staff. This isn't what a life coach is supposed to do. Any life coach, whatever his specialty or her specialty is, or their specialty, the fact remains a life coach is there to help you better communicate with the people that you work with and not make them feel small because you feel that you're elevated and above everybody else. With that being said, I wanted to share an experience that I had when I worked for a cosmetic company many years ago. The interview came through a recruiter. The recruiter set everything up for me. I went on the interview. It went really well. I was very excited to have this opportunity. I leave the building. At that time, you follow up with your recruiter. There were no cell phones at that time, so I found the nearest payphone on the corner and I called the recruiter. I let them know how great the interview was. I was very interested in the job. And long and behold, it was a moment that I've heard happen to other people, but it would never happen to me. The minute that I contacted the recruiter, he told me that they really loved me and I got the job. Literally, it was I walked around the corner, found a payphone, called, and I found out that I have the job. So I'm excited. I'm going to be working for this great cosmetic company and I wanted to be there forever. When I start the job, the day of orientation, everyone is sitting at a table in a conference room. We're filling out paperwork. The woman comes over and she's giving everyone what apparently was a credit report that she pulled out for everyone. And I'm saying to myself, I never gave permission to have a credit report pulled out. And what is the significance? I'm only an administrative assistant. I'm not going to be handling any kind of money. It wasn't a position where I was dealing with any kind of financials. So why would my credit report have to be pulled out? Now, at that time, my credit was not great. I was just coming off being clean. I had to be like 2 or 3 years clean, something of that nature. Everything was very new to me. So cleaning up my credit at that moment wasn't a priority. And having this job, I would be able to pay anything that I owed so that I could fix my credit again. It was very embarrassing to have her pull me aside, discuss certain things about my credit, and I'm looking at her like, this is really none of your business. You know, I was young. I didn't know any better. I'm not even sure if at that time that was even allowed, like if you applied for a job. I'm not very sure. At that time, you just sign things because you want the job. You're not reading the fine print. So if it wasn't the fine print, I just never bothered to read it. Needless to say, it wasn't anything that was affecting my employment there, but I was embarrassed. I was assigned to work for 2 people, but I would be on this executive level. Whenever the other administrative assistants would be out, it was our responsibility to answer the phone just to cover whoever was out in that moment. Now, there was one man there. He was on the higher level of the people within that section. And he wasn't a very nice person. I took notice the way he looked at me like I was some kind of bizarre being. I'm not sure what that was all about. But I will say this, just to keep the story short. There was another human resources person that I just happened to run into at the time I had this ID badge and it wasn't working for me to get into my area. And he just happened to walk by and he helped me get in. And when he introduced himself, I told him I'm new and I had a question about the whole thing with the credit report. I explained the situation. He told me it was not anything to worry about. It's all good. And I was like, okay, cool. There's a saying that a friend of mine always says, know your audience. And at this point, the way he came off, very friendly, not aggressive, not this standoffish person like I'm here and you're there, I was able to feel free to joke around. And when I say joke, I'm not talking about like playing pranks, but not being so utter professional. There are people that you just understand, you give them the respect and you keep it moving. You don't engage in small talk. There was a day that he came to visit my boss. And as he was walking by, I said, hey, what brings you up here? And he said that he was there to see my boss. And I was like, okay, cool. And I went and told my boss, so and so's here to see you. He was like, okay, send him in. They go in, they talk, whatever. And then he leaves and he's like, thanks. And I was like, take care. I forget like the small talk we exchanged. But apparently this man was watching the whole situation, the man that I worked for. And he called me into his office and I sat down and said, is there anything that I could help you with? And he goes, do you know so-and-so? He's talking about the HR man. And I said, well, I don't know him, but he did help me out with a couple of things that I had questions about. He was like, I don't know where you're from or where you came from, but here we don't speak to people like that. And I was floored. Like I didn't even know what to say after that, other than I apologized to him. I said I didn't mean anything by it, but I won't do that again. That conversation left me with a very bad taste in my mouth. And then another incident occurred not too long after with that particular executive, the one that looked at me up and down like I was a strange alien of some sort. It happened to be that his executive assistant had went out to lunch and I was stuck answering the phone. The phone rang. It was a person on the other end of the phone, adamant that they needed to speak to him. I had let them know that he was in a meeting, but sometimes it's not even worth arguing with people on the phone, because if you argue with the person on the phone, then they make it a big deal and complain. And then if you tell somebody, oh, well, why didn't I get that call? It was just a no-win situation. I put the person on hold. The door is ajar. I knocked and then slowly opened the door, and the executive looked at me like I literally had two heads. And I said in a very soft voice, I apologize, I'm interrupting, but there is someone on the phone and they need to speak to you. He takes the call. And that's that. And I'm thinking, thank goodness that's over. Well, it wasn't. I get a message from the other person that I was working for, this woman. She calls me into her office and she tells me that an incident happened where I abruptly entered his office and then exclaimed that there was somebody on the phone for him. Now, of course, I'm sitting there dumbfounded because I'm saying, where did she get her information from? Because I never did that. I just don't waltz into anybody's office and then tell them, hey, you've got so-and-so on the phone and they're being aggressive and angry and you need to take this call. In any professional environment, you just don't come in and be like your quote unquote normal self. You read your audience, understand where it is that you're at. And I was pretty sure of where I was at, that I was in a professional environment, and I didn't come off the way he said I did. The sad thing was about this whole situation is no matter what it is, what I was saying, it was coming off like, you know what, we really don't care. Like there was only one reason why we hired you. And it wasn't for my skills. It was for them to meet a quota. You know how jobs or employment companies, they have to meet a quota of who they hire.
how simple it was that here I was, the non-white woman, coming in and filling in that quota that they need for that position. And I hate to put it that way because in all of my life growing up, I never experienced racism. If it was happening as a little girl, I didn't know what was going on. But in this situation, I will call it that's what it was. It seemed that I was being singled out. No matter what it was that I was doing, even if I did it to perfection, these people didn't like me. Long story short, because I went a little longer than I wanted to, the woman calls me back into her office. This was about 30 days into the job. She has this letter in front of her and she's reading the letter to me, telling me this happened, that happened. And I'm like, okay. And she says, I was under a 90-day period, like a 90-day grace period. And because of these mistakes that happen in such a short period of time, my employment is terminated immediately. And I'm sitting there so dumbfounded. Like, you have to understand, I'm in my 20s. This is all new to me. I'm trying to do everything as perfect as I can. If there was something that I was confused about, I would ask all of the other girls because they were so super helpful and so nice to me. Hearing this woman, it kind of didn't register that I was getting fired in that moment. And I looked at her and I said, so you're telling me you want me to leave? She goes, yes, you are terminated. You can leave right now. When I heard those words and the way she came across, it was like, okay. I feel more stupid. It's bad enough that you guys pull my credit report and then start outlining shit that I didn't pay. But then to be treated like a secondhand person, like a secondhand purse that has been through the mill over and over and over again. It was not a good feeling. And I will tell you, it would be years before it dawned on me everything that was going on. And even after talking to the recruiter, because it was a recruiter from another recruiter, they both worked together. She had told me from the other recruiter, she goes, I'm going to tell you something. You can't tell anybody, but those people, they did not like you at all and they just wanted you out. So in essence, they did everything in their power to get rid of me. And even if that meant we're going to invent mistakes because this girl is under a 90-day employment term. We have 90 days to figure out if we want to keep her or not. It was pretty much a done deal. They just bought their time in the 30 days for that 90-day period to get rid of me.
I've been an administrative assistant my whole life. I've worked for different types of companies. I've worked for customer service. I've worked for attorneys. I've worked for CPAs. So I can safely say that the cultures that I work are widespread. And when you're working in a law firm, it's definitely a very professional culture. They really don't care about implementing any type of personality test. I have yet to hear of a law firm doing things like this. If anything, they just care about, can you do the job? Can you be productive? Can you come in every day? Granted that sick days are given if you get sick or what have you, but that's neither here nor there. They're focused in on, can you do the job? Do you have the experience to do what needs to get done for this job? If you're an administrative assistant and you know how to do the basic necessities, then of course, that's all they care about. They don't care about anything else. Now, I can't remember exactly what company I was working where they were like insistent that we all take like an admin course. It was like a 1 day course and you would get a certificate at the end of it. I don't know how valid the certificate is other than just saying, hey, I took this course and I'm a certified admin. I don't know if that meant anything back then for people. This was like the in thing to do. And you got a break from work. You kind of like, we're in this course of how to manage your day, how to multitask, how to do certain things just so that you can be more productive in your role. That's basically what this was about. So it wasn't anything like you're doing something wrong and we're going to send you off on this course. It was more like, here's something to help you so that you can be more manageable and feel better about your role. Okay. And I did it several times. And I remember this one particular course that I went on. We were having these different topics about how we do certain things, how we go about our day. And I laughed. And the woman that was managing the course or teaching the course or whatever, she made a comment about my laugh that I needed to change that because it was too loud. And I looked at her like, who the fuck are you to even judge somebody off of their laugh? Like if somebody laughs too loud or they laugh too mousy, like who are you to even make that comment? And that stayed with me. Not that I change my laugh, because I didn't. I'm going to laugh the way I'm always going to laugh. But for me, it was somebody trying to curtail my attitude and kind of say, you got to take it down a notch. Like you can't be like this. You're in this world now, and this is the way you have to behave, and you can't be outside of the scope of how we want you to behave. Now, granted, yes, in a workplace, you have to behave a certain way, but there are things that you can control. Like somebody can't tell you, I don't like your smile, and you shouldn't be smiling that way. You need to change your smile. Like that's almost impossible. You can't tell somebody that in a workplace. You can't tell somebody your walk is wrong, so you have to change that. It's not offending anybody. Now, granted that if there's a man walking and he has his hand on his crotch, then yes, that's unprofessional. If he's farting all over the place, and I've had that experience too of working with somebody and they're just like farting all over the place, like they think it's okay. It's not okay. It's not professional. And while some people like to laugh about it and goof about it, it's just not a professional thing to do. So with that in mind, it just made me think like, who is she to even make a comment like that? It's almost as if, like trying to exert her ideas and her control about how I should be. Some years ago, when I was still living in New York City, I had gotten a job with this company, and it started off as a temp job. It was supposed to be a temp to perm, according to the way my recruiter explained it to me and what she got from the HR person. Now, I was still interviewing, and at the time, I had gotten an offer with another company in Midtown, which sometimes I think I should have taken, but I didn't know if I was going to be like a good fit. So I decided to stay with the one downtown. Now, here I am, I'm working, and I find out that the position people were going to be interviewing for the job that I was under the impression that I was going to be temp and then turn to perm. And it was this whole thing. Like, I remember contacting the recruiter and telling her, hey, like, what's going on here? I'm like having to sit in front of these people who are like trying to go for my job, which I understand I was supposed to have. So it seemed like the tables have turned, and that should have been a warning sign there, but I didn't take it. So I'm having to sit there, watch other people interview for this job, and I get a call from, like, I guess the recruiter. They're like, yeah, we don't work that way. You would have to interview for the job. And I'm saying to myself, that's kind of bizarre, because I've been here like now for a month. So if you haven't figured out you don't want me, why am I here? Like, why am I here? The new manager, she's coming in and she's traveling to all of the different offices so that she could kind of gauge what it is that we do, how everything works, and what our responsibility. And I remember making a comment to her saying that I really enjoy this job, and that even if like a law firm had contacted me and wanted me to work for them, I wouldn't go back no matter how much money they had offered me, because I felt like this was a really good job. I had like freedom. I was doing office management. I was doing event planning. I was traveling to another office that I was also in charge of. So that was like really the benefit of the job. I get to travel. I get to do all of these things that I really enjoyed doing. Well, why did I say that? In 2014, she coordinated a training for us. I think we were going to be gone for like 3 or 4 days to Vegas. So I was very, very excited to go to Vegas. And this time I was going to be there a little longer than I was the last time. So I get to like look around and kind of get my feel for everything there. And at this point, I really didn't want to hang out with them. Like there wasn't anybody else there I really wanted to hang out with. So I kind of just ventured off on my own one particular night. I remember when I went back to the hotel room, I had gotten this message about, oh, you didn't do this test. I understand that there was some kind of test, like an assessment that we had to do. No idea what it was. I was like, oh, I didn't know that we had to do this. And it was like, I don't know, I forget how many questions. It was a lot of questions. I really wasn't paying attention. It was kind of like these stupid ass questions of, well, if you were in this situation, like how would you react? And it's like who gives a fuck? Like I just didn't care. I wasn't answering the questions with much thought or care into it because I just felt they were all ridiculous. The next day, we're all at the training and the two women there, they give the test to everybody, like I guess the results. She goes, now don't take the results to heart because you can always change later on down the line. And I'm completely perplexed with this whole shit about test and changing and answers. And I'm like, what's going on here? So she puts the test down in front of me. I look at it and I'm reading it and I'm saying, who is this about? Like this is about me. I was so confused. Like in essence, the test had put me down that I was this violent person at work, that I had outbursts and I was disagreeable. And I'm saying to myself, who is this about? Like this is not me, like not even close. And she really just tried to shut the whole thing down. Oh, no, like don't take it seriously. Don't worry about it. And I'm like, I was floored at everything that was going on. And as we were going toward these exercises that we had to do, I realized that this was not something that I wanted to be a part of. It didn't take much for me to figure out that what was going on here wasn't something normal. We were sitting there kind of having this kumbaya moment. I guess everybody else was, not me. I remember this woman talking. She was talking something personal. I don't know what it was, but she started like blabbering and crying. And I'm saying to myself, this is supposed to be like a work training, not like something personal where like we're like in therapy. That's not what this is supposed to be about. And I have a meeting with my manager. Like he takes me out for coffee. He's like, oh, let's have our one-to-one at whatever place. There was a coffee place not too far away. And we go there and he tells me he had gotten phone calls from other admins that were there complaining about me and my attitude. He used a word, and for the life of me, I cannot remember that word. It wasn't insubordinate. It was another word he used, almost as if like I was talking to myself. I didn't want to partake. And I'm like looking at him and I'm thinking he's joking around. And I told him, stop joking around like that. Like, because I really thought he was messing with me. He goes, no, no, no. I'm being serious. And I'm like, for real? I was shocked at this whole personality that was coming out of him. Like, how do I even deal with this? I was very, very confused. I didn't know how to react to what he was telling me. I didn't want to be angry about it because, according to this whole personality test, I reacted violently. It didn't take long for me to figure out that this woman was out to get me. She didn't like me for whatever reason it was. I found an article from Vox, and looks like it was written in 2014. And it says why the Myers-Briggs test is totally meaningless. So, I had to do my dig. Apparently, companies started giving this personality test to people as a way to improve your work style, like understanding your personality. I always end these episodes with like a guide or something like that. And we're going to see what the Daily Oracle has in store for us. So let's kind of think about where we want to be in our lives, what 2023 is looking for us, because this is probably the last video that I'm going to record for this year. I don't know. I'm hoping that I could do another one. So let's keep in mind about our focus and our goals and what we wish to accomplish in 2023. And let's get an answer for that. And this is the sign you've been waiting for. So you see, it aligns. It's crazy how like I'm talking about something and it aligns with everything that I was talking about in this video. So with all that being said, thank you so much for listening. As always, remember, be good to yourself, be good to each other, and always remember, take care of you. Bye everybody.